The Twilight Conversation. That afternoon, in the cozy little house, Loy's mother sat across from Tu Tien. Her gaze was pensive, her hands slightly clenched as if in internal struggle. Tu Tien, she gently began, I have something to tell you. Tu Tien looked up at her mother-in-law, her heart filled with surprise mixed with curiosity. Yes, please go ahead, Mom. Taking a deep breath, Loy's mother slowly spoke. Have you ever thought about doing a DNA test with the man who claims to be your father? The question stunned Tu Tien, her mind blank for a moment. She had never doubted the long-lost father, but Loy's mother's words made her hesitate briefly. Do you think there's something wrong? She asked, her voice slightly trembling. Loy's mother didn't rush to answer. She gazed intently into Tu Tien's eyes, her look both serious and warm. It's not that I doubt, she said, but I think you should confirm it clearly. Only then will I truly feel at ease. Tu Tien was silent for a long while, considering the suggestion. Then she nodded slightly. It's late today. Tomorrow, I will go with Dad to do the DNA test. Loy's mother held Tu Tien's hand, her eyes gentle. I just want you to know the truth, so you don't have to live with any doubts. The fateful day. The next morning, Tu Tien and her father went to the hospital for the DNA test. While waiting for the results, her heart was filled with anxiety. Although she always trusted this father, deep down, she was still slightly afraid. What if the results are not as expected? 2 days later, the hospital sent the results. Tu Tien held the paper, her heart pounding. She glanced down at the most important line. Tu Tien has a 100% blood relationship. This is Tu Tien's biological father. Tears fell onto the paper, and she tremblingly handed the results to her father. Dad, you really are my biological father. The middle-aged man standing before her couldn't hold back his emotions. He embraced his daughter tightly, his voice choked. I'm sorry for letting you suffer all these years. Tu Tien hugged her father tightly, tears of happiness streaming down her cheeks. Joy spreads. Immediately after, Tu Tien called to inform Loy's mother. Mom, the test results are in. He is indeed my biological father. On the other end of the line, Loy's mother couldn't hide her joy. That's wonderful. Please cherish your father and make up for lost time together. Tu Tien nodded, her throat tight with emotion. Then, she called Jack, who was at the office. Jack, are you busy? She asked, her voice slightly unsteady. Sensing the emotion in her voice, Jack stopped his work. I'm listening. What's going on? Taking a deep breath, Tu Tien said, the DNA test results are in. Dad is indeed my biological father. Jack was silent for a few seconds, then his voice came through warmly. I told you to believe in family ties. Congratulations, my love. Tu Tien smiled, tears falling again, but this time from joy. Thank you, Jack. He chuckled softly. So, when are we having the celebration party? Tu Tien laughed through her tears. Soon. I want the whole family to share this moment together. The day of reunion. Thus, after years of separation and suffering, Tu Tien finally found her beloved family member. Fate may be cruel, but love remains unchanging. After receiving the test results, Tu Tien decided to organize a small party at home to welcome her father, the one who had been lost to her for many years. Jack set aside all his busy work to help her prepare. That evening, the house was filled with warm light. Loy's mother, Jack, Tu Tien's father, and a few close relatives gathered together. Standing in the living room, Tu Tien couldn't hide her emotion as she saw everyone reunited. Loy's mother approached, holding Tu Tien's father's hand, her voice sincere. You have endured so much hardship. Now that you've found your daughter, let the past rest and live happily with her. The middle-aged man nodded, his eyes red. I thank God for giving me the chance to see her again. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Jack. Thank you all for loving and caring for her in my stead. Tu Tien stood beside her father, tears streaming down. She had never thought she would have a day of such complete happiness. Jack gently put his arm around her shoulder and whispered, This is our family, those who always love and protect you. Tu Tien nodded, her heart filled with warmth. Secrets revealed. Late that night, when the guests had left and the house became quiet, Tu Tien's father sat with his daughter, his gaze distant. I have something to tell you, he said softly. Tu Tien looked at her father, sensing the weight in his voice. What is it, Dad? He took a deep breath. Back then, I didn't abandon you. I was harmed by bad people. Tu Tien was startled, her eyes wide with astonishment. Harm? He nodded, his eyes shimmering with old pain. At that time, I was just a small merchant. But by chance, I discovered a horrifying secret of a criminal gang. They kidnapped me and exiled me abroad for many years. Tu Tien covered her mouth, hardly believing what she heard. So, how have you lived all these years? The man sighed wearily, his eyes filled with sadness. I tried to find a way back, but no one believed me. It wasn't until I met a benefactor that they helped me return to the country and find you. Tu Tien held her father's hand tightly, tears streaming down. You've suffered so much. I'm sorry I didn't know sooner. He shook his head gently and hugged her. Now that we're reunited, that's enough. A vow to protect. After hearing the story, Jack sat in deep thought. He was glad Tu Tien had found her father, but he still felt uneasy. Do you think they are still looking for you? He asked seriously. Tu Tien's father shook his head. I think they no longer care about me, but I'll still be careful. I don't want to implicate my daughter. Jack nodded, though his doubts lingered. If they harmed him once, might they come back someday? He gently held Tu Tien's hand, silently vowing to protect her and their family, no matter what. Despite the painful past, they now had each other, a complete family, bound by love and a vow to protect each other forever. A looming threat. In the following days, Tu Tien felt her life was more fulfilling than ever. She had Jack, her loving husband, Loy's mother, her kind mother-in-law, and now her biological father by her side. But she was unaware that behind those peaceful days, a new storm was quietly brewing. One morning, just after Jack left for work, Tu Tien's father received a strange phone call. He picked up, but as soon as he heard the voice, his face turned pale. A deep, cold voice said, I heard you've returned. I thought you died abroad. His hand trembled as he held the phone. You still won't let me go? A cold laugh echoed. Not yet. You were lucky to escape that year, but this time it won't be so easy. I know you have a daughter. If you don't want her to be in danger, you know what to do. The call ended abruptly, leaving him bewildered. He glanced into the kitchen, where Tu Tien was preparing breakfast with a bright smile. His heart tightened. I can't let her be in danger. All day, he was restless, the morning call haunting his mind. That evening, as the family gathered for dinner, he put down his chopsticks and looked at Tu Tien seriously. I want to talk to you. Tu Tien was surprised by her father's solemn expression, but nodded. Yes, please speak, Dad. He held her hand, his voice heavy. I think I shouldn't stay here any longer. Tu Tien and Jack were both stunned. What are you saying, Dad? Why do you want to leave? Tu Tien asked hurriedly, her voice trembling. Jack frowned, sensing something was wrong. Is there something wrong, Dad? Tu Tien's father looked at Jack, his heart conflicted. He didn't want them to worry, but he couldn't lie either. I just think I've troubled you both for too long. I want to go out and find a job. I don't want to be a burden. Tu Tien immediately held her father's hand, her voice firm. Don't say that, Dad. I've been looking for you for so many years. Now that you're back, how can I let you leave? Loy's mother also spoke up. Just stay here. After all, you are her family. But Tu Tien's father only smiled sadly and shook his head. You don't understand. Jack looked directly at him, his eyes sharp. You're in trouble, aren't you? If someone is threatening you, tell me. I won't let anyone touch you or this family. His eyes wavered. Jack was too perceptive, guessing the issue with just a few words. But he couldn't drag them into danger. It's nothing, Jack. I just need some time to think. Even though he said that, Jack was still not at ease. There must be something, he thought. I can't let this slide. The truth emerges. The next day, Jack secretly gave the phone number that called Tu Tien's father to an investigator. The results shocked him. The number was linked to a criminal organization under police surveillance, notorious for illegal activities, kidnapping, and eliminating anyone who got in their way. Jack gripped the phone tightly, his eyes darkening. The threat was real, and he knew he had to act to protect his family.